and I'm happy to be here with you again. I'm Lola Aneke, and I welcome you to Finding Up with Special Needs. I want to thank everyone for joining in again. I see you, Sunday Precious. Everyone for joining. I want to say thank you, Yama Ike Doshima, Benny. Thank you, everyone for joining in. So it's another episode of Finding Up with Special Needs, and I'm particularly excited about today's topic. I'm always excited about every topic because it's a time of sharing and learning and relearning for everyone. Okay, so thank you everyone for choosing to spend your afternoon or rather evening with me. Thank you. For as many people that will be joining us as we go on, I want to thank you in advance because I know we're all going to have a good time together. So today is episode 27, and the topic is I am dyslexic, and so what? Or so what? I am dyslexic, and so what? And I'm very excited about today's topic because we're not going to talk about what is dyslexic, what is dyslexia, and talk about definition. We're not doing teaching today. We're going to have time for that some other day. But today, I'll just talk briefly about this dyslexia, like I always do, and then I'll invite my guests. We have two beautiful ladies who are dyslexic, and they've done quite well. They've done quite well. Now, dyslexia is a language-based specific learning disability. So when I say language, it has to do with language. It can be English language, it can be any language. So the individual who is dyslexic might have challenges in the five components of, if it's English language now, reading. So they might have challenges with phonological awareness, with phonics, with vocabulary, with reading comprehension, with fluency, reading fluency. So they might have challenge with either phonological awareness or in phonics or in vocabulary or reading fluency or reading comprehension or one or more of that. Usually you find out that these individuals have challenges, particularly with phonological awareness and with phonics, because all of that, being able to find out how many syllables in the word, and then also how many syllables in a word, or how many what letter makes what sound, and being able to call out words. And then sometimes it goes on to reading fluency and comprehension and all of that. So most of these individuals, they also have challenges in sometimes speaking. So they use past tense or present tense. They're not able to use their words, and not to use their words, use complete sentences as it ought to be. So any area of reading, they might have challenges. So it could affect their speaking, it could affect their writing, ability to write. Okay. So what else? It affects their self-esteem, definitely, because research has shown that 1 in 5 children is living with dyslexia or is dyslexic, you know. So because of that, they found ways. Some of these individuals, depending on the age of that individual, they found ways to self-regulate themselves. Some of them have not been able to. So that sometimes they have self-esteem issues. Sometimes they have issues. They have complex issue, and the best thing for us to do as individuals is to understand that people are different. You can't have it all. You can't have it all. Understand people for their strength, understand them for their weaknesses, find ways as parents, as caregivers, as teachers, to be able to understand what is going on with this individual and seek out ways to support such individuals, as opposed to calling names, laughing at them, and all of that. So today we have two guests that will be joining us on the show. I can't find them yet. I'm waiting for them to come up. But what I want us to do today is to just hear from them. I already said what dyslexia. I tried to define what dyslexia is. And another thing I forgot to mention is that it does not mean, when you say somebody is dyslexic, it does not mean the person is not intelligent. There's a definition that especially usually one of my favorite definition, and I love that definition also. It's that despite the level of intelligence, the person is not able to either read, write, or still having challenges in any of the 5 components of reading. So you're wondering, but he's smart. But sometimes some of them speak so well. They speak while you're wondering, why is she not able to write? Why can't he spell cat? Why can't he even, some of them cannot. So I remember I had this student when I was in the US. His name is Silver Spoon. And he said to me, he said, Miss Lola, I don't need to learn two label words. One syllable word is easy. And I said, listen, silver spoon, 3. And this is, I mean, I'm using a pseudonym, it's not his real name. I'm just trying to give an example. I said, this is where you're going to avoid it. Your name has got 3 syllables. So you can't be comfortable with just one syllable word, saying that if I've done one, if I'm able to pronounce one syllable word, I'm fine. Your name has got 3 syllables. What are we going to do about that? You know? So it's good for us to understand what dyslexia is, how it affects an individual, and then come up with ideas and ways to help such individual. So I want to welcome you all again. Welcome Abonde, Balaji, welcome Inyobong Phil, Ashiri, welcome Aliyu Andrew. Thank you so much for joining us. Blessing, thank you, Miss Sharon. Equity, thank you, thank you. Oladoyin, thank you. Nana, thank you. This is Joanne. Vicky Wilson, thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Precious Sunday. Thank you, everyone who has joined in. I want to appreciate you for taking your time to join in. Okay, thank you, thank you. So today, like I said, it's not a teaching. I'm not teaching. We're not going to teach. Remember, we're having our Send Educators Summer Camp very soon. So we'll learn as much as we need to learn. Today is more about hearing from the horse's mouth, so to say. We want to hear from our guests who are dyslexic and how they've been able to overcome the challenges, how they've done, both of them have done so well. There are no perfect people to bring to them than both of them. They've done so well. They've been able to self-regulate themselves. I've read the stories. I've seen the things they've done. And I just wanted us to hear it because some of us are teachers, some of us are parents. Let's see what they are going through. You know, most time I talk about neurodiversity. You know, we all don't have to be the same. People will say, the saying goes, variety the spice of life. Okay, these individuals have stood out. They're living with dyslexia. They are dyslexic, and they've done so well. And I'm not going to waste much time. Without much ado, I'm going to bring them up real quick. Okay, please, I want us to listen to them, and if you have any question for them, so that it's more real to you, I want us to feel their pulse today as they share what they've been through. And thankfully, one of them lives in Ghana, another lives in Nigeria. So we're not going to say, oh, this person is from US or she's from UK. So maybe she had the opportunity. I mean, Ghana is a neighboring country to Nigeria. So we are both developing countries. Let's see how these people have been able to, what were the challenges they had, and how they've been able to overcome it, and what they're doing, you know, to help others. So I'm going to bring in my first guest real quick right now. It's so I'll bring in Rosalyn. Hello, Rosalyn. Can you hear me? Okay, while I'm trying to get you up, let me get Oladoyin up also. Hello, Oladoyin, can you hear me?
Hi. Good evening, everyone.
Hello. Good to have you. You know, I said to our viewers today, the audience today, I said, I'm not doing no talking. Today is not about teaching. It's not about what is dyslexia and what are the strategies we can use to teach them. What can we do? Today is about hearing from the dyslexic themselves. And I hope you're not offended because I know that we're supposed to use the person first language. So we're supposed to say somebody living with dyslexia. But so that we don't keep biting our tongues, I hope you can permit us to use to say that you are dyslexic. I hope it's okay. I hope it's okay, Rosalie. Do we have the permission to use?
It is.
Yes. Thank you. Olade, do we have that permission also? You know, you guys have done, when people say dyslexic and people want to use it in a funny way, you guys have beaten that, you've already erased that mindset, you know, so it's okay. I think I give myself that permission. Thank you so much for joining us. So, what's the little introduction? Usually, we want you to tell us about yourself. Since I brought Rosalie up first, I think I'll let Oladoyin go first to tell us who she is, who is Oladoyin, and then just tell us about yourself before we go into the questioning, and then we'll have Rosalie also talk.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Oh God. So my name is Oladoyin Idowu. I'm a student of psychology and the founder of One World Africa Foundation. I'm 21 years old. I'm 21 years old. Pretty much that's it. I'm a production designer. Hello, can you still hear me?
Yes.
Okay. All right then. So
Okay.
I'm a production designer. I'm a student of psychology. I'm founder of One Africa Foundation. Creative director, Firebird Design. I'm a lot of things.
Wow, it's interesting to hear you a lot of things so that we can erase that mindset of dyslexic cannot do well, they cannot read, so therefore they will amount to nothing. Of course, we've heard a lot of success story about different individuals in developed countries. Whoopi Goldberg,
Yeah.
what's his name? The owner of Virgin Atlantic, was I Richard
Richard
Branson, a lot of
Branson.
people, But then this is our own, you are our very own. So it's not like, oh, she's living in the US. That's why she's able to do what she's doing. So we are glad you're here. I was about to call on Rosalie and then she
Yeah.
disappeared. So we'll wait for her to join back. Oh, and then she will introduce herself. So let's hear from you. You from all you said to me, you've done so well. I read your bio. I'm always saying whenever I read my guest bio. I'm always like, I hope people will not think I'm making this up because a lot of people feel that when anything has to do with special needs, oh, are you sure? Are you sure they're not just writing this up? So we want to hear from you.
Yeah.
You are dyslexic. What does dyslexia mean to you? What is your experience? What was your, I mean, still your experience, but when did you realize and what does, in your own way, your own word, don't give me um, any definition from the books whatsoever. Your own word based on your experience. Can you tell us what dyslexia is as you are, what it is to you as an individual who is dyslexic?
Okay, so for me, dyslexia means having to try out things 10 times more than your peers. So when your peers, when you're in a classroom and you're taught a particular thing, for me, dyslexia means having to go back to that thing 3 times more, 4 times more before I can grasp and still, getting the same result as my peers. I think Rosaline is back, so wait for her to introduce herself.
Yes. Rosalie, welcome back. Welcome. We are glad you're back with us. So I wanted you to introduce yourself, and then I saw that you had gone, but I'm glad you're back. So please introduce yourself to us.
Oh, okay. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I
Yes.
can hear you.
All right. So I have to apologize for today. Like the internet has been super off over here, and so really have to apologize to everybody as well. My name is Rosalyn, and I'm joining in from Accra, Ghana. I'm based here in Ghana, and also I'm based in other places. However, like to trace back to what for me dyslexia means to me, it's really pretty new, even though it's been 3 years since I discovered to be a dyslexic. However, for my entire life I have lived as somebody who always experienced learning difficulties, especially has to do with reading, writing, and processing information and all that. So, as a matter of fact, I started picking and writing at the age of 17. And if you think about a young lady or a teen who cannot read at that age, and everybody makes fun of her and all that, you can pretty much imagine what that person went through, and that has been kind of my case. And nobody knew it was something to do with dyslexia. My dad, who, even it's funny because he has been in education for the past like over 40 years, and he even taught us at a point that I was wasting his resource. And just for him to know about 3 years ago that all these while his daughter was experiencing something called dyslexia. And so this is very dear to me, and with what Lola and everybody is doing in the space helping people with dyslexia and other related learning difficulties, is just amazing. And however I can share my story to kind of motivate a parent out there, somebody in this same situation, a young girl, a young boy, or even an adult going through this situation, is that you are not alone. And there are a lot of people around this world who probably are going through the same condition, but don't even know that it's dyslexia. So we have to carry the conversation on and keep
Mhm.
talking about it. I personally wouldn't want to wish anybody to kind of experience what I did experience, because it was very horrible. It nearly destroyed me. It's just by slim
Mm,
chance that I slipped off to be
mm.
who I am today. But it's almost had destroyed me before I got to that point where somebody intervened for me.
Wow. I We're gonna get to your story. We're gonna get to your story because I know I've heard your story over and over again. But I wanted to just make it clear to everyone listening, all our audience, that the reason we have this, what we have this particular show is because we have read, some people have read, we've seen on Google, we've read about different disabilities. Some of us might not even know of disabilities, but we've heard about special needs and all that. But for me, that reality of being able to connect with individuals who are experiencing this is very important. So, we have different topics we talk about. So, today's about dyslexia. So, I know, thankfully, your story is a good success story. I mean, fantastic story. I've read it. I've also, although you have done so many beautiful things to show people, not only have you guys been able to, I mean, overcome whatever the society has placed on you from the onset, you've been able to make something beautiful out of it. You're doing a great job back in Ghana. Olado is doing a fantastic job. One with Africa, she did so much, and I'm like, this is it. This is it. This is humanity. Like, I've gone through it. I mean, it might not have been a pleasant experience for me, but I'm going to. It had to stop with me. It had to stop with me, and that's why I'm excited that you guys were able to. We know we had our glitches here and there, but I'm so excited that we've been able to come together to do this. Now, I want us to go back to backtrack to when you were. So I'm going to go back. Olado, I'm coming to you with this question. So now we
Okay.
know it's dyslexia. It would have been a very horrible experience, so to say, growing up. Because I can't even um, I remember growing up too, and I had to repeat a class. I knew how I felt. That was because I had to change school. I wasn't dyslexic. I was not dyslexic, but I had to change class, and I didn't like it. I felt I changed. We relocated, so I had to be a class lower because of the assessment. The school was a bit advanced, so I had to be in a lower class. I knew the psychological effects it had on me. I wasn't dyslexic, so I can imagine you. I can't. Well, I don't know what age you realized something was wrong, or something you were. No, I want something was wrong. You were different from every other person.
Other
Can
people.
you backtrack and try and see when you, because I remember I changed school when I was in primary two, going to primary three. So I was supposed to go to primary three and I was had to repeat primary two, and it was not funny at all. I just kept on keeping away from people. I felt I was older than them, that just kept on. I wasn't so friendly with people, you know. And then my father would say to me, it's not how far, it's how well, and whatever. I still remember it till today. So I can't imagine what you were going through. At what age did you realize that you were different? And what was it like?
Okay. I've always, growing up, I'd always known that I was different from other people. Even within my siblings, I'm the only one who's left-handed. In school as well, different things happen that, make it emphasizes that you're different from other people. But in primary school, I had it relatively easy. I didn't struggle as much, though I had, one or two struggles and all of those things. But I had, it was, we learned in pictures. Our textbook was more pictorial. So even when I struggled in areas of mathematics, I made up for it in areas of, social studies and the other subjects. But the difficulties started to be more pronounced in secondary school because it was a different ballgame entirely in secondary school.
Mhm.
And then I started to feel very conscious. I didn't know it was dyslexia, but I don't know. I say that every dyslexic has this inbuilt spirit of resilience. You don't know that something is going on, but you're faced with a circumstance and you find yourself trying to find a way around it. It's common amongst dyslexics. So I didn't even know it was dyslexia. I just knew that I was in school, I needed to pass, and I was struggling. So I would cram and pass my exams, move past. It was always survival of the fittest from primary school. I got into secondary school, different kind of survival of the fittest. And then I got into A levels, and everything I usually tried just didn't work for me anymore. So A levels were actually based on your application, not you can't cram to pass an A level exam. Really, they're actually based on application. And for you to apply something, you need to understand it. And me, I am not comprehending jack. I would use a lot of coffee. They usually would advise me to take coffee. I would take coffee, bastardized coffee, and I would be jerky. Like my entire body would be vibrating, and I'm still not grasping nothing. And you have parents who have expectation of you. You have teachers who have expectation of you. And it also didn't help the fact that I've always been an outspoken person. So automatically people assume because I'm outspoken that she's smart, she's a straight A student, but that wasn't the reality for me. And I usually would have to even fake it. Sometimes when you have the conversations with me that I'm a straight A student, I wouldn't deny that I am not. So I would avoid you just knowing the truth and just be in that space. So in A levels, different ballgame entirely. You would cram, it wasn't working. So that was when I got stuck. I started to feel depressed. I tried different things. People recommended marijuana and brownies. I was desperate, and when you're desperate, whatever whatever people recommend for you, you just feel like let me try it and let me see. So I can relate so much with Rosalie. I went off a wrong path, but I'm thankful that I found that it was dyslexia. After falling through the tracks, I'm thankful that everything wasn't totally destroyed before I was able to, drag myself back. So that's the reality for people who have dyslexia. Without the appropriate intervention, without any advocacy, without the knowledge, you just see yourself struggling, and you start to what people think. When you're struggling with something, people always have an opinion. And you don't have the understanding of what it is you're going through. So after a while, you start to internalize the opinion that people have, because that's the closest to an answer that you have about whatever it is that you're going through. So you start to internalize it. So when people called me dumb, at a point I started to believe that I was dumb. When people would say, "Oh, maybe because you should try this," desperation, you try it. When people say you're stupid, I started to internalize all of those understanding that people felt was the reality of what I was feeling. And it started to form my reality as well, because, I didn't see the reason to continue trying. I was just done. I was ready to be done with school. I was ready to be done with life in itself, so that's it.
Wow, ready to be done with life itself. That's deep, but I'm going to go back to that. I was just nodding my head and I was just soaking it all in. Imagine, I'll get back to you. Rosaline, are you there? Hello, Rosaline.
Yeah, hi.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah. So,
hello,
I can hear you. I can hear you now. Okay. So we would like to hear your story, just like as Oladoy's, just like the question I put to her initially. I said, when did you realize that you were dyslexic? When? And what was it like? We want people to feel it as it is. So do not mince words. Let us know what it is, so that for people out there who might have students or individuals around them who are dyslexic, what should they look out for? Because while Oladoy was speaking, I was looking at some of the things she said. And that's why we have to be one another's brother's keeper. As teachers, it's not about just going to teach. You need to observe your students. As parents, parents is also involved observing what is going on with that child. So could you please let us know, when did you realize? I know you said 3 years ago was when you were diagnosed, but what was the story? At what age? At what point? I knew, of course, you knew you were different, but at what point? Can you just tell us about that too?
Okay, I'll try and assume that I heard everything you said, but I didn't hear. But I'm just getting the words you said to say this. So if I'm correct, you are asking me to kind of tell my experience as to when growing up with this whole learning challenge and
Yes.
what I went through.
Yes.
I hope I got
Yes.
this right because I don't hear
Yes.
you.
Yes. And when you identify that,
So for
this
me,
is it. And excuse me.
yeah. So it was. It's always hard, and I tend to pause a little bit before being able to get the courage to kind of remember even the past, because it's a painful one that whenever I remember, it still feels so painful, like it just happened. So this is somebody growing up, and you probably living in a compound house where you have young ones living in the same compound house with you who can read and write, and you are probably older than them like 5 years, and you can't read, and so everybody make fun of you, and and they tell you things like you're lazy, you're good for nothing, you're so dumb, you're low, like kinds of unpalatable words that they say to people. And it kept going on. It kept going on. They'll be teasing. Even your name, you can't read. You can't read and write it. What kind of a person are you? It felt like a joke, but it was damaging me. It was damaging me, and it was damaging me to the extent that growing up, I realized that because of all that, it kind of shattered my voice, and and even speaking is hard to me. Like for instance, the example would be this morning. I I wake up and I went somewhere to meet somebody for a business decision, and then he was just like, "Oh, when I went, he had some business people partners with him that I didn't know were going to be in the meeting, and he was just introducing." Before I could get the courage to kind of come out of my shelves and really speak with them, I had already experienced low self confidence. In even at this stage of my life, an adult me, I'm still struggling with this, and this is as a result of what people said to me when I was young. It you've traveled the
Yeah.
world, and that you have all these things, so you wake up and all the damage that was done to you. So I went through school, and I just got promoted because I was growing. I was growing in the class, and then they don't have any as to send me forward, so to promote me. Another typical exams that I really remember to date was when it got to one final year exams of ours to write before you can go to high school, and the school told my parents that your child cannot perform, and so unfortunately we cannot add her to our year group to sit for this exams, as we're afraid she will damage, or she will bring our scores down. And so they advised my parents that if they think I'm growing in the class and I cannot regain, then they should take me to a village to go and register me to write my exams. So my parents also felt okay, and they took me to a village, and I went out there. Just look at the scenario. Imagine you have studied with some people for like 7 years of your life. You have them as friends. They are like your everything you see all the time. And there is a major national exams coming. And the school is saying that you do not perform. Therefore, you go and register in that you probably don't know anybody ever in your life. And so it gets to the week of the exams, and you have to travel to that for 5 days and write with people you have never known. You and I know how hard it is when we even change school to go to a new school and you're a newcomer, how it feels like to fit in. And so asking me to go and sit in the middle of people that I don't know anywhere before to write exams, what were you trying to prove to me? They were like it killed. Nobody realized what happened to me at that time. I know the traumas I went through, the emotions I went through, the cries I went through, and all. But it wasn't far from the truth. I did failed. And so the school was right. I failed, and This was when I failed, and everybody was like, oh, okay, then maybe you should learn a trade or whatever it is and all that. But thankfully for me, I happened to meet somebody who believed in me more than even if of my family members were. Person was the person who kind of directed my path to go into studying culinary and becoming who I am today. But it hadn't been that person, regardless of the love my parents had for me, I would have missed the chance for being who I am today. Therefore, that is why I think this whole dyslexia thing I became aware has become like a call for me to kind of speak out, to kind of do something. Because I don't want anybody not realizing their dreams. I don't want people's dream being killed. I want people to have freedom. I want people to be who they are. And as I said the last time, to change a whole, like, you don't need to change 10 people. Even if it is one person's life, we can use our voices to change.
Mm-hmm.
We have achieved something. We didn't need the money
Yeah.
because the person who helped me to be who I am today was just a year older than me. He was 18, I was 17. But that person used his voice, and his voice encodes in me every day that you can do it. It is possible.
Mm-hmm.
You are good for something. You can do it. It go beyond my inability to read and write. And I think it's time we stop defining people of the grades they get in school. Because listen, even though the grades are good, it does not define the future of person. Everybody have a talent, and we need to nurture it for them to realize it.
Wow, wow, well done, well done. Um, I want to go back to Oladoyin, and I want to ask, you know, just the way we know that the way dyslexia affects one person is not the same way to affect the other person. I want us to be very practical this evening. Can you identify specific areas that you would say dyslexia affected you? That's one. Either negative. No, let's talk about affected you negatively. Okay, let's use that word negative because I don't even believe it's negative. Everybody has their strength. But what are the ways you felt? If these are the ways I felt affected, and these are the things I did specifically. And the reason I'm asking is that I don't want us to just generalize. These are the
Yeah.
areas because we, like I keep saying, anytime I'm going to speak about this, it's going to be from a teacher's perspective or what I've been taught,
Mm-hmm.
the experience I've had of other children. But I am not dyslexic, so you're going to tell us these are the areas. For example, socialization. For example, in reading three level words. For example, comprehension. And these are the ways I've been able to self-regulate or overcome these challenges. Please, can you just tell us that? Just
Okay.
thank you.
So dyslexia affects every area of your life in school, in even family friends, and even socialization with friends. So I would break it down in those three places. So I will start with the home front. Being different made me start to withdraw from everybody, including my family, because there came a time, even up until recently, I was very pissed with my parent because as a child your intuition is that for your parents to protect you, you know, and they didn't know how to help me. They didn't know how to protect me. They just always had expectations of, how they expected me to be fair in academically, how they expected they were there. Even when you complain, when I was younger, when you complain that, I'm struggling, they tell you read more, pray more. That was pretty much. So my parents were bothered about your academics, your respect, and then religion. Those were the only three areas. So they were not exactly, Nigerian parents were not exactly involved in, emotional support and things like that. So it made me hate my parents. My mom would flog me at the time. So up until recently, I posted a video of when we did a documentary. That was the
You're going
first
to
time
tell
we
us
ever
that.
did have the conversation. Okay. That was the first time we ever did have that conversation. So I hated her. Like terribly. I couldn't stand anything she had to say. I couldn't, like, it was out of obligation that we were living as a family, because I was waiting to make money so that I can move out of the house and forget about them totally. That was it. So it was out of, you just have to be here to you're this particular age and stuff like that. But I hated. I was always angry. I couldn't stand her gut. Sometimes she would tell me something. I know it is true, but because I couldn't stand her gut, I would go against it. Pretty much that was it. Then on the society front, when I was younger as well, I felt different from my peers. So I couldn't always express myself as I was, because the few times when I did try to express myself, people couldn't understand what it was that I was going through. Like, they didn't understand what it was I was trying to say. So I learned. I know children are very opinionated. They say it as it is, things like that. So they tell you as it is. And all those experiences that I had growing up made me withdraw. So I wouldn't express myself in public. I would just, maintain a front just to be amongst my group of friends. And when I'm back at home or in my closet at night, I'm weeping, I'm shedding all those layers of, that. And it continued that way, so much that self-esteem issues, really. I just couldn't be myself. I started to feel like I was dark on the inside. I started to feel like there was a real problem on the inside. So I didn't feel the need to show. I was so scared for anybody to even know me internally. So I would maintain the standard of normal that, everybody's supposed to maintain, just try to keep appearances. That's really what I was trying to do. So keep appearances during the day, and you're back at night shedding all those layers of skin that you had to acquire. So it was like multiple personality disorder as far as I'm concerned, because I'm doing psychology now, so I understand the whole stuff. Yeah. So that was how it was, and it grew into a situation where till date I don't know how to maintain relationships with people. Now I consciously maintain positive relationships. I meet amazing people who are very instrumental in my life, but there is a difficulty with keeping in touch. Like, there is a huge difficulty in keeping in touch. I can actively be in somebody's life. My friends know that they can count on me when there's a problem, but as long as there's no problem, you will not find me. So it's always like I'm waiting for them to have a problem. That's what they usually say. Like, it's only when there is a problem that you will find me. But as long as everybody's doing very fine, or everybody's okay, you will not see my shadow. I would just be in my own, personal space. Even down into romantic relationships as well. You just, it made me even be in abusive relationships.
Wow. I'm sure she'll be back. But while we're waiting for her and Rosaline to be back, I'll take our comments. I'll read out the comments real quick. And then if you have any specific question for them, because that's the reason.
Because I actually.
Okay, so while we wait for her to be back, I'll take the comments real quick, and I'd want us to please put out questions for them. I'm sure they'll be more than happy to respond to your question. Aliyu Andrew says dyslexic can't really express themselves society front because they feel different from others. Okay, that's what Olade was trying to explain to us. Okay, of course, they're trying to recap. I hated my parents because they didn't support me emotionally. They only had expectation of me. So that's a very big one we need to consider as parents, as teachers. When you have students, when you have children, it's not just about it's all about us lording ourselves over them, so to say. It's about understanding that person and finding out what is going on. There was I think we were at the training some time ago, I'm talking about how we can work with children with dyslexia, and we said it's not all about yes, we are educators, we know what it is to be able to know the strategies and all the technical aspect of helping that child to read, to write, and all the challenges. But beyond that, what is the child feeling? You want to hear the child. How is this child feeling? What do you feel? What is going through your mind? look for movies that explain this. Let them be able to, and so that they can connect and see that they're not the only one in such situation. Let's hear them. Let's hear them talk to us so that they can relate and communicate with us, as opposed to be just bombarding them with what we think it should be. Now, our voice can at least help one person. So yeah, that's a good one. Not only did are they doing Oladoyin and Rosaline realized that they were dyslexic, they also went further to say, look, I'd gone through this. I don't want any other person that come after me go through this. How can I create awareness? How can I support? I'm sure when they get back, they will tell us what they are doing, because we still have quite a lot of questions for them. Okay, so being dyslexic made our withdraw. Okay, Rosaline, your story is amazing. I wish she's here to hear that, but I'm sure she will through the comment. That's the practical. Okay, that's the practical. Oh, sorry, that's the practice. Sadly, the perceived response is in most African countries to dyslexic who find academic work difficulties learn a trade. Okay, and I was going to ask a question based on that when Oladoyin gets back, or when Rosaline is able to join us back. Okay, so Gerandi says a dyslexia child needs that one. Okay, needs that one person to change everything. Okay, so a dyslexia person needs that one person to change everything. Hashtag the voice. So we have to be the voice for this individual. Okay, we can use our voice to save at least one person with learning disability. Rosaline said that. I'm just waiting for them. And please send us your questions, send in your questions. So great to not define the future of a person with dyslexia. Thank you. Blessing Gapi. That was what Rosaline said. Why do parents, so Samuel Chikodi says, why do parents only care about their children getting good grades and not understand what the child is going through and help them emotionally? So we are all saying it together now that it's beyond the grades. Some kids have done very well, but other aspects are just, it's nothing to write home about. So a child has all A's, there's no respect, there's no courtesy, the person has no feeling for the next person. So beyond the grades, what other quality can we look at? And that's why I remember in schools, there's this advocacy for when you're giving best person, probably best student in science, best student in biology, best student in mathematics. Let's look at other qualities, the most best behaved person, the best person in art, other qualities, like we know that there's multiple intelligence. Let's celebrate other intelligence in other people. I have a question for Oladoyin, and when she gets back, because somebody actually made a statement. Let me see that comment. There was a comment that someone made about she's speaking so fluently and so well, and I was going to ask her, would she have preferred that she's called? So in special education we have, or inclusive education we have something we call accommodation. Would she have preferred that she said the things she needed to say as opposed to writing it? Okay, so these are some of the things we wanted to hear them talk to us about, and I'm still waiting for them to join us. So Ozioma says, without the appropriate intervention, people with dyslexia struggle a lot, and that is so true. So this is what Asma Ahmed, thank you so much, Asma, for joining in. Says your communication skill is amazing, as an amazing, Oladoyin. So dyslexia has got nothing on you. You've done so well, you speak well, so it does not define you. In Yangon, Phil Ashiri says, dyslexia means getting it right with the other way round, being different from every other peers of yours, being resilient within yourself, inbuilt. Okay, thank you everyone. Thank you for this comment. Dyslexic are gifted with inbuilt spirits of resilience. Wow, yes, they are. And we can hear that from the horse's mouth. Wow, strong woman, Rosaline. So imagine, the topic says, I'm dyslexic, and so what? You've heard them speak. I think we have, yes, Oladoyin is back, and we'll go back to her to Hello, Adon. We lost you for a bit, and I'll just read
Yeah,
out
network
a
threw
lot
me
of
off.
beautiful comments. A lot of beautiful compliments have been said about you. Somebody was just like your word. You speak so amazingly, and that's a big compliment. So welcome back, welcome back. So I was asking a question. I was saying to our audience that you speak so well, Olato. You speak so well, and have you always been speaking like this right from when you were young, or you had to teach yourself to speak this well?
I had to teach myself to speak like this. One of the issues I struggled with dyslexia was I can't hear sounds. I can't tell sounds except if you stretch the sounds like with the phonetics. Like sometimes, most of the time, my sounds, actually words that are spelled alike, spelled differently but sound alike, they always
Mhm.
sound like the same thing to me all of the time.
Your
So I
diction,
started
yes.
to I started to learn to stretch those words, use the for like speak phonetics to be able to learn those words. So from learning
Mm.
phonetics and stretching the sounds, it started to affect my diction. So that explains it. So sometimes some
Wow.
people you would ask, that why do you speak like this? Did you live abroad? I'm like, nope, it's a dyslexia thing.
Okay, so that was your own way of self-regulating, and that's where we're actually talking about. You talked about the social aspect, and then I wanted you
Yeah.
to tell us. Of course, you're already answering that question indirectly, like what areas did it affect? And for me, I could hear you talk about your auditory, what you do, what you hear, also affects the way you speak. So you had to drag those words, and that's what affected your
So,
speaking.
okay. Can you still hear me?
I could hear you.
All right. Okay, so in the school system, I would always struggle with comprehension. I would
Hmm.
read, and no matter how long I spend with the book, I cannot comprehend as long as I cannot form a mental picture of it. Then I
Mm.
struggle with taking notes. Because again, the way I operate is I try to comprehend what I'm doing. So if I'm taking a note, the first sentence I can comprehend, I'm trying to join it to the second sentence. At some point I get stuck because I cannot understand the flow of the thought. And in the time that I'm trying to spend to, understand what it is I'm writing, by the time I'm back, they've gone, 3 pages more.
Hmm.
So I usually would have a note where, you see, like I have a 5 pages note. You see the first page, first 3 lines have something in it. Then in the middle, I have something in it. The next page, maybe nothing on it. The third page,
Hmm.
that's how my note
Hmm.
used to look. And it
Hmm.
was, in secondary school they didn't mark notes as much, but they used to mark notes. And imagine your teacher just come to you, and the reason why I'm even writing with a pen, or I'm putting a pen on, so that you can see I'm writing and think I'm writing, but if you see what is in the page, there's really nothing there. So really it was always survival of the fittest. Issues writing notes, issues comprehending, issues hearing sound. And once you can't even hear sound as well, it started to affect your spelling.
Hmm.
I struggle in areas of mathematics. Till date, I can tell the time from the clock, and they've taught me via different processes. If
Hmm.
the long hand is not on 12 and the short hand is not on another number, I don't
Hmm.
know the time. But if the short hand is
Hmm.
on it's a number, I know, okay, it's 12 o'clock, it's 6 o'clock, it's 7 o'clock. That's all I know about the digital time. But if
Hmm.
the analog time rather. But if it starts to mix around, I don't know whatever it is your stuff.
Wow.
So yeah, issues like that. But I always found, even when I was writing notes, before I knew, like the even number and the stronger than and less than rather,
Yes, yes.
I would put my right hand, the
Yeah.
elbow.
Yes.
Yeah.
So your left hand, yes,
Then
yes.
um,
Those are
then
spoken
also when
strategies,
it
yeah.
comes to cramming, oh Lord, maybe I should have become a musician, because I can turn my notes into songs. You just see me singing a song, and it's pretty much me cramming. So I just pick the
I
first
mean, those are the
40
coping
words.
strategies, and you have to find out a way to cope. And those are beautiful strategies, and that's basically what it is. Even in the classroom, we need to find out how to help the person to cope. And so these are fantastic ways to be able to self-regulate yourself. Please keep sharing.
Yeah, so due to usually what I would do, I would either try to form a song, or use my hands, or there was it was different things depending on the course, depending on the subject. I would always find a way around it. I was always struggling to at least get 60%, so I don't have to repeat a class or have to resit the exam. So as long the remaining 40%, the teacher can have it. But my own struggle is survival of the fittest. So sometimes I get 60 sharp or 61 or those were, but I was fine. That was what I was aiming for, and that is what I would usually get. So again, it was how I was able to go through the system, and is how I'm going through the system now, though with better results.
Wow.
So yeah, that's it.
Yeah, so when I bring Rosaline back up, what could you, I mean, what's that question? How do you think teachers, how do you think it could have helped you? I know you found your way to self-regulate, but now that looking in retrospect, what do you think it could have done to help you? So that's the way I asked the question of you speak.
Yeah.
Do you think you would have preferred it? I know you found, you taught yourself to speak this way, but do you think you would have preferred alternative ways?
Yes.
For them to access you, that will help you still be who you are without being like everybody else.
Yes.
Welcome back, Rosalie.
What I would even say, because I usually I'm trying to summarize this story because I don't want to go really into it. But what I always even say is that all of these methods that I've come to use to help myself to study, they didn't come easy. They came very hard. Like sometimes, like now when I'm trying to read something and it's taking me a longer time to read it, it affects the time that I can spend to understand it. And you will start to see the effects in exams. In secondary school, I skipped the part that, when you don't even pass well, they flog you. I've been flogged I've been flogged a lot of times. I've been called in front of the assembly, all of those. It was demoralizing. So even despite the fact that I was always trying to, find a way out of it, I didn't always have good days. It's usually only when I'm lucky I go as planned. Sometimes it doesn't go as planned, and you have your teachers, calling names and script numbers, scores rather, and mine usually at the last two or the last. I'm usually, that was it. So it was demoralizing for me. So I think I would have preferred if my teachers could understand, if my teachers could, connect to the fact that I was trying my best, because despite the fact that taking normal classes, I was also doing extra lessons. My parents paid for extra lessons through my life. I was doing lesson in home economics. Normally they do lesson in the core science subjects, in the mathematics and English. I was doing lesson even in home economics and computer. Those subjects that you could ignore. I was doing lesson in every freaking subject, and despite the fact that I had no life, after I graduated from Queen's College, and I didn't go for my valedictory service or my prom or anything. I wrote my last paper in WAEC, and I've never stepped foot into that school till date. I've not even gone for my clearance, as I said.
Why is that?
Yes. So, and that was it. It was just depressing. So I wish my teacher had, because it was obvious that I was struggling. I didn't used to miss my private lesson. I would also be in class. I would also be in prep. And you can see that I'm doing all of those things, but it's not showing in my result. Yes, what you would rather do is flog me and insult me. I was obviously trying. Though it got to a point that I didn't see the point in trying anymore, because, you already know the result from this thing. So why just waste your time? So it got to a point that I got to that point where I was just done trying. So I wish that the teachers, could just really, I know that teachers want the best for their students. I know that teachers are trying to impact their student and see the result out of it. But I feel like there's a level of I don't know, there's just sensitivity. Sensitivity goes a long way. Like when a student is doing well, your first instinct shouldn't be that the child is lazy. You need to investigate what it is, especially when it's now someone who is obviously trying. Some people you will not even see. I would have spoken so you would know my process. But some people are quiet, some people are more reserved.
Yes.
And you frustrate the process. They were the ones that made me lose hope. And your teachers are supposed to be the ones to nurture you, but they just made me just everything.
Deep. Thank you for sharing. And I'm coming back to, I have lots and lots of questions. I'm just trying to imagine how you felt. I want to imagine what you wish differently. So let me quickly go to Rosaline. Rosaline, Oladoyin just shared with us the specific areas she struggled and how she was able to cope. Can you please highlight those specific areas? Let's hear yours, because we all know meeting one person with dyslexia, you don't met that person. In as much as we say, okay, dyslexia affects this, affect that area speaking, it affects phonological awareness, it affects comprehension, it affects self-esteem, and all of that. What were your specific areas? So other people who are listening, probably they're also dyslexic and they don't know it's dyslexia, might not have found what they might not have found their own case in Oladoyin's story. Maybe they could find in yours. Please, can you break it down to us? Like what you hear specifically and what you did to cope in those situations. We can't hear you. Is your mic on? Oh my God, we can't hear you. Hello? We can't hear you. Okay, while we wait for you to
Can you
solve
hear
out.
me?
Yes, thank God. We can hear you now. Yes, we can. We can hear you. We can. Okay, while we wait for her to come back on, let's not even be bothered about the poor network or whatever is going on, and let's just get real and just ignore whatever is going on now. So, Oladoyin, thank you so much for sharing that. I have read your bio and I see the great work you're doing. But before we go to the work you're doing, because of course, okay, she's back. Rosaline. Okay. Hello, Rosaline. While she gets back on, what your organization is doing is a great one. I know, because and I can imagine. Let me make. I don't want to imagine. I want you to tell us why. Rosaline, can you hear me? Rosaline. Hello, Rosaline. Okay. So Oladoyin, I like One Word Africa is doing such a beautiful job. Where is One Word Africa based? Lagos, Abuja, Kano?
In Lagos.
Lagos. Okay. Now, can you tell us what led to that? Obviously, I think I have an idea, and what you are doing with dyslexics in schools or with individuals who are dyslexics.
Okay, so what led to me starting One Word Africa was because at the time when I found out that I was dyslexic, that was in 2015. That was when I was able to put a name to what it was I was experiencing. And immediately when I knew that it was dyslexia, I found out by just,
How old were you then? Sorry, you were 16 when you found out, because Rosalie said she was 17. I can't even imagine what you were going through for the last 16 years or thereabout. Wow. Please go on.
So I found out, how did I even find out? I was going through a search, or at the time I dropped out of school. I was back at home. I was just done. Like I told my parents that until you send me to a school abroad, I'm not going back to this Nigerian school system. I was just done. So I was at home, and that was when I started to learn skills, which has led to my design business now. So but I was still trying to, because I was still trying to find out why it was that I was struggling. So that day I just went on Google and I asked Google, am I dumb? And Google came up with articles, poems, different things. So I was perusing through those things, and then I came across this very catchy article by an educator who was talking about why students may think that they're dumb. She spoke about things like, intellectual disabilities, learning disabilities, things like that. So, not so much of a reader, but for that day, I was just, very interested. So I looked into it, and then I came across the word dyslexia, basics of dyslexia. It was the first time I was getting clarity in my entire life on earth. It was as if I spoke to that person and the person wrote everything I said in that article. Because, and immediately I saw that word, immediately I gained that, it was like an eureka moment for me. And immediately I was just desperate for more knowledge. So I was checking for everything I could find. I was reading, I don't even like to read, but, I was reading, I was listening to, everything possible that I could find, listening to it, reading everything. And it now went back to me now wanting to know truly if I was. So next step is to get a test. Once do you understand? So trying to get tested, I checked for organizations in the country, in Nigeria, within myself, where I could, do a test, and I couldn't find anyone on dyslexia. I checked, and then I contacted an aunt of mine that, she's a doctor with an NGO, and I contacted her to help me check, and we couldn't find anyone doing anything on dyslexia at the time. And I wanted to do a test, though I found that I could do an online test, and I also, so I settled for an online test, if you confirm that I was dyslexic, but I was, paranoid. I wanted confirmation. I wanted one-on-one, intense confirmation, but I couldn't find anyone on dyslexia like that. But from that point on, I started to, try to rebrand myself. I started to see a psychologist because I was obviously depressed and I obviously had issues with, my self-identity. So I started to see a psychologist. So during therapy, therapy helped me, and I was now determined to want to walk on the right path. So in determination to walk on the right path, I started to, read more about dyslexia, do my research about dyslexia, and then I started to talk about it on Instagram. Before I would go for therapy and hide and lie about the fact that I was going for therapy, because there's also that stigma that people that go for therapy are mad up there. So I would hide that I was going for therapy. But one day, I don't know what happened. I was feeling very, I don't know. I was just feeling like my self-esteem was on another level that day. I made a post, though I deleted it afterwards because I was over it after a few hours. But I made that post and then I admitted it. I said I would like to reintroduce myself. My name is Ola Idowu. I am dyslexic. I'm going through therapy for depression. I said everything, and people were responsive to it. People related more to the fact that I was really dyslexic and to my learning struggle. And some people were, enlightened. Oh, I think, something like that. So that was what led to the organization, because at that point on, it made me feel more confident. So even if I would do a post and delete it, almost immediately, I would just, talk about dyslexia.
Yes,
I would,
yes.
you see one person that would ask you more questions. And when people started to ask me more questions about dyslexia, some of them I could reply based on my experience. But after a while, it started becoming more technical because I didn't, dyslexia is not experienced the same way for, different people. So it started becoming technical, and from when the questions started becoming technical, I started, researching more about dyslexia. Some of it, I started to contact organizations outside of the country to give me answers. So that just put me into that space, when I was looking for answers for people, and it became a small platform. Then from that platform, we had to have a physical meet. From that physical meet, we had today One World Africa Foundation. So what do we do in One World Africa? We work based on three core values: advocacy, support, and remediation. So advocacy is the usual. Every platform that we can find online, offline, we try to talk about dyslexia and the realities of dyslexia. Then we also try to relate to real life stories. So we have this project. It's called No Dyslexia Project. I think I make every project under One World Africa a No Dyslexia Project for some reason. So, but this is a project where we do by telling stories of dyslexics via movie productions. So we did a first film, it was supposed to premiere, but COVID happened, titled Gifted, and we're on until the second film project called Firebird. Firebird is my personal story. Firebird is the name of my company. Long story. Anyway, so we do that. We do advocacy via movies because I feel like most of the time when we're talking about dyslexia, so many scientific words. So it's easier when you can relate it. So that's one of the advocacy medium. Another thing we do is support. And how do we do support? Sometimes by online resource clinic, where we just share information that could be useful to teachers and parents. Then remediation is the big part, is where we work on we work with the dyslexics one-on-one. So we have something called the Dyslexia Tribe. It's a monthly support group, though we've not been able to hold it, but we're trying to go virtual now because it's COVID period, so we need to work with the old COVID, stuff. But Dyslexia Tribe
Hmm.
is a monthly support group session where dyslexics, adult dyslexics, come together. We have a guest speaker or keynote speaker who is either a psychologist or a dyslexic. It was a support group like the normal AA meetings, but for dyslexics.
Wow.
So we have
Wow. Wow.
tribe and
Wow.
Dyslexia Tribe kids. So that's what we do as an organization. Just try to find ways to ensure that dyslexics are in school or learning a skill or just not giving up. That's it.
Well
Like
done.
that's for
Well
the
done.
organization. Okay, but
Well done.
every
I
dyslexic.
wrote out two things for you, but I'll get back to you. Now that Rosalyn is back, she's been on and off. Let's quickly get to her and let her
Yes.
tell us. She was telling you when you were telling us your specific challenges and how you were able to cope or self-regulate yourself with those challenges. Could you please let us know what those specific challenges were?
All right. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, loud and clear.
Oh, thank you. Okay. All right. So for me, my challenges were I felt like with all the subjects that we were taking in school were my challenge. I didn't have a
Hmm.
favorite one. As a matter of art, the favorite one I probably would have loved would have been French because it sounded so nice to my ears. Wanted to learn it, and I tried and tried. Even now that I'm an adult, I'm still trying to learn French, and I haven't gotten used to it. So it was difficult. The strategy I was using in school was very funny, and I don't encourage anybody to try to kind of practice that. But imagine like they give you a book and you have to read paragraphs. So what I was doing was I would go and sit at the back or maybe call my friend who really does well in class and be like, hey, let's sit at the back. Just because I want to count from the front and see what kind of paragraph I'll be reading. And then tell my friend to read it to me and she will go through with me till it gets my turn. Sometimes I'm able to kind of mention what she reads to me. Sometimes by the time it gets to me, the fear that I will make mistake for me to get things is so high that I will forget everything that she had actually read to me, and I will end up getting beatings. But for me, school was I love wearing the school uniform and going to school. But then anytime I'm getting to the entrance of the school, I felt like I maybe would consider it today as a prison, somewhere that I'm going that I'm not going to find happiness. It's not the go-to place for me. I love the idea that I have to carry my bag and put my bag behind me and wear nice shoes and clothes to go. But then the entire school experience, I didn't like it. So I think it got to a point in school where we need to have done something in catering where you bring these ingredients and do like pie or bread or something like that. It was more introducing us to a life skill, which is catering. And that was for me, I loved it. Oh my goodness. I will go and select the rest of ingredients, take them to kind of really get to present to school. And then during the end of year, we did something called our day. And our day is where you kind of cook your favorite meal and take it to school and share with friends. And this for me were my happy moments. So you could see that I didn't really like anything in school. However, it wasn't also an option for me to schooling because it's I mean I'm an African child growing up in Africa. How can you tell your parents you don't want to go? And so I had to endure and kind of go through and go through and go through. But I can speak for the strategy that I started using when I went to the catering school. Now when I got there, what was different for me was I don't see a plain textbook written in black and white and in a very small letters and be like I have to read all this book and get to know what's in it and be able to produce it. But this is where I have a very colorful book. And if it says bread, you are seeing bread, a picture of bread in the book. If it's saying ice cream, you actually can see. If you say eggs, you can see a picture. And not just that, but if it says make bread and it says 1 cup of flour or a sugar of a bottle sugar of this, you can actually measure something tangible that you can see. And so coming to terms with this type of learning was something I hadn't really experienced before. But it became my comfort zone because it was exciting. It was beautiful. This is not just me reading something or seeing something in the book, but also using my hands to create it. So that started shifting my mind up. And mind you, back in the days, I was also very I'm still into Christ. So I had this little Bible that my mentor gave me, and I will always open it. And I remember I tell God, like, this lets me know what is in this book. Like, let me be able to read it. And so, coupled with doing that and doing this practical and theory in school, started shifting my mind up. And I remember one time my dad, because when my dad took me to the school, he told the proprietor that, oh, my daughter cannot amount to, like, he didn't say that, like, I don't have any expectation of bringing her here, but just let her walk into the school. And one time after, when we graduated and my dad was coming for me, they called him and asked him, is it the same person? Is this the same daughter you said you don't have any expectation for? She almost in the class. And I remember my dad asking, are they sure it's my results talking about, or I have copied somebody? He didn't believe it. And my dad, the proprietor, no, that's your daughter's work. And that's when I got that is your daughter's work. It was like heaven to me. And I made a conscious decision that I'm going to be topping this class so I finish. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do it. And here I'll just pause a little bit for you to realize something. How powerful the words anybody speaks to somebody has on them. When I heard that, oh, I'm almost leading the class, and my dad was asking, are they sure this is my report? And they confirming that, yes, she's indeed performing. It was like something lifted up my world. So when I went home, I still go to the internet cafe, just go and Google about food, start watching videos about food, went back to school, and now it was this girl and Franska, who was either first and I'm second, or I'm first and he was second, she was second. So we completed our culinary school. That was the strategy that I used in learning, but I became very studious. I was learning like on the clock, not resting, even in the catering school, making sure that I maintained that promise that I made to myself. I kept doing that. And of course, my young mentor too didn't leave me. He stuck by me throughout the time. And it continued like that. Even my university days, I have to learn more than my friends will learn. When I reached, though, teachers knew, especially when it came to the tertiary level, was don't ask a student like me to read exactly the thing, to produce you exactly the things you want he or she to produce for you. It's so hard. It was so hard that I realized when teacher asked me a question, I am thinking about it in a different direction to be able to answer them. I don't want to follow the usual rule of doing things. That is not my kind. Just leave me. Whatever I will do to arrive at a decision or give you a solution, I feel that should be okay to encourage my creativity and my curiosity. But when you tell me that no, I want you to produce exactly like this, then you are putting me in a bubble. So that also kept to influencing the difficulties I have to kind of go through even at the tertiary level to be able to kind of still keep up my grades and perform. When I went to Switzerland to study, it was different because they provide you with problem and ask you to go and whatever you want to do in your own way to bring solution. And so I wasn't put in that small bubble that I had to figure out how to match up to the expectation of the teacher. I use different methods to arrive in my decisions and in my solutions. So that for me is the strategy. Another thing was also recording all my classes at the university level, from my bachelor's to my master's. I was recording I always have my secret recorder on me, which today I know that I should have been informing the teachers that I'm recording them. But then I was recording them at that time, and I'll keep playing because I'm more good when I listen than when I read. So I play and I play. Then when in Switzerland, I came across this app, Notability. You are able to use it on my iPad. I record and I'm able to transcribe it as well. But all the time, I have to study extra more. Now that I'm working on my own in my business, I have to work extra even than the employees that I have. I have to spend a lot of time drafting letters. I have to spend a lot of time reviewing documents and even have somebody really look at the work that I do to be able to put a content that's great out there. So the struggle hasn't left, but then with time, you just learn strategies around it that you'll be able to manage. I met a friend this afternoon. He's super, super successful. And I was talking about dyslexia. He said, I'm undiagnosed dyslexic, but I know I have dyslexic. But I just found a way around it to be able to manage it very well so that people don't look down upon me. Also because of where he's coming from. Like in a part of the world here, when I started talking about it, people talk, is dyslexia a disease? And so when people start thinking this way, it's concerning because you don't also want labeling around. But dyslexia is not a disease, and it's just a condition. You live with it. It's beautiful. It's hard, but we live with it.
Wow. Olado, you told us about what our organization is doing. And I want to commend both of you. Thank you for sharing your story with us, because there's nothing as good as we hearing it from you, how it affects you. We can only imagine, And I believe for every person participating, everyone, all our audience, and everyone listening, they can now relate with what you're going through. For teachers, for parents, they can now imagine what their kids are going through. And I believe some of the things you've mentioned will also help them to, more like take a deep breath and think of ways they can support their children, or even the teachers can think of ways they can support their pupils. So when asked a question, and I think it was for Olado. I think she said something like, how do you encourage parents to, let me find that question. Oh my God, I missed it. It was more like, how do you encourage parents to relate with their children who are dyslexic? I think it was something like that. There are lots of questions. I'm going to go back to the quick. But how would you advise parents? When you were saying your story about how you will rebel, even when you knew your parents were right, but because they didn't understand you. In retrospect, how would you advise parents to relate with their children who are dyslexic? What would you advise?
Okay, so I like to approach from a psychology point of view. I always like to advise parents to even have the conversation about dyslexia. Sometimes, especially if you have younger children, your child is dyslexic and you're not telling your child that your child is dyslexic. However, you're working through remediation plans, reading plans, finding, extra tutors. I always advise that first start from the foundation of the situation. Tell your child, have this conversation. You're dyslexic. Or even before you know that your child is dyslexic, you recognize that your child is different. And obviously, from being different, you start to feel inferior because, you're the minor half of a major. So parents need to actually have this conversation, and design a pattern towards the child's identity of why they are different. So if your child is different, have the conversation. So even remind your child all the time that you're unique, you're smart,
Yes.
and that's the foundation of it. Before you even start to tackle whatever the problem is, let that child know that the fact that you're different doesn't make you less of who you are. So start that conversation from there. So okay, hello Tade, you're different, but you're being different means you might just have to work extra harder than your peers in this area. Your be different means let everything you would do stem out from the conversation, that the child understands that they are different. Because parents think that they can continue to protect their children from everything, but you cannot shield your child from the world. You cannot follow your child everywhere, and the society is ready to say what's not and what is. So let your be the first source of information that your child has towards why it is they're different from their peers. Then from there you can now stem into other conversations about, okay, so you struggle in this area, let's try this. You struggle in this area, how about we approach it this way? Then you see the specialist you need to get to help, or whoever you're going to need, but you must first start the foundation of that conversation. Because that's where, you can find yourself helping with learning struggles, and you can find that child, work with their learning struggles. But if you don't work with the issues deep rooted down there, it can grow into something that you can't control.
So in other words, parents need to understand what is going on, then figure out the best way without being judgmental or criticizing the child on how to work on the child's will I call it emotional, helping the child understand who he, or helping the child to understand who he or she is. I'll use that word, understanding who you are. Because whether you're dyslexic or you are, you still have a lot to give. Understanding the child's strength, and then before you can now begin to solve the problem. Because more like you cannot build a house without the foundation. So the foundation has to be put right. But not important. Then put the foundation right, and then you now begin to build. Now, I'm going to ask, because she's back, I was going to ask both of you this question because you all have your stories. You both have your stories. Now, because we are Africans, and we understand the place of, oh, my child must graduate, whether dyslexia or not. And then someone actually made a statement that that's always the point. They keep saying, go learn the trade, go learn the vocation. But I know that because we are Africans, we frown at those things. But lately, we are saying what the 21st century is showing us, that you don't necessarily have to be a medical doctor or an engineer or what's that, a geologist. What, from your experience, I know Rosaline had to do go to culinary school because of her interest, and I bet you, I think sorry. Oh, you went to culinary school too. Yeah. You went to culinary school too. But what I'm trying to ask is that because of our culture, this thing of, no, my child cannot be, no, she has to be a graduate. What would you say? What would you advise? At what stage? So that we reduce the frustration, and because we see what is going on right now. Other people say, motivational speaker, stop telling us, I dropped out of school at age 15 and this and that. What would you say based on your own experience? You went to culinary school, you had your interest. If you had not done your A-levels, or if you were, I think Rosalie might be able to answer this also, but what would you advise to parents once you see, so your child has other skills, other strengths, at what stage would you say, okay, parents, find out your child's strength and help that child to go in that line? We do not all necessarily have to be graduates, or we do not all necessarily have to be doctors. Why don't you look at the strength of that child and use it in favor of the child's weaknesses, or to augment it?
Yeah, I'm really careful when I try to encourage that you should let a child learn a skill, because so I would like to tread carefully. Why? Because sometimes when you have a dyslexic person struggling through school, and then you say that the option is the child can learn a skill. Some people think that once a child cannot learn in school, then learn a skill. That's not it. If there's some, like, for me, the reason why I'm back in school is because I want to pursue a career in aviation psychology. And despite the fact that I've learned a skill, I need to go through school to be able to acquire that knowledge.
Yeah, because of what you are interested in.
Exactly. So again, interest is the foundation of it. So it doesn't just come from, like, that's what, like, you hear a lot of teachers when you say, when a child is struggling in their class, and say, if you cannot understand school, go and learn a skill. Some of these children still need to pass through school. So skill is not the solution for everybody, but again, it still stems back to the person who is in the middle of this entire situation. So as parents, you need to, I think, from conversations, children are very open, children are very curious, and their curiosity makes them ask a lot of questions. And we need to pay attention to the kind of questions that these children ask, because some of these things are stemmed out of their own interest. So you need to be an involved parent, you need to be an hands-on parent. The world has gone beyond the parent who just, you leave your child, to the help of the teachers. Everybody is a stakeholder. Everybody needs to work together to help that child. You can tell a child's interest from the things that the child usually just aggravate towards all the time. So from this, you can, these are pointers for you. So school is not a criteria for success in this world and in this time. A child can, I earn more money in my design than I earn in professional, things like that. So school is not a criteria for success. A lot of people are graduated from school now and they cannot find a job. So you need to just shed the idea that school has to be the solution to everything. Shed that idea from your mind as parents, and just listen to your children. Children always cry out for help. It's not left for us to know whether we pay attention enough to know these things. But children are very curious. They would always ask questions. Even if they don't ask sometimes, even in rebellion, you can see what the problem is. When a child is rebelling, you can tell what the problem is. So you need to pay attention to these things. You need to have conversations. Ask. I like to say ask, talk about it. Because sometimes I've had conversations even with 5-year-olds who is not very, sometimes they tell you the damnedest things. Sometimes they're asking you some very questions and they're making you rethink your life. And okay, this child notices things. Children learn from observation a lot. They learn from the things that they hear, the TV, the cartoon, the shows that they watch. So be part of the formulating period of what your child understands. From there, you would understand your child's interest. From there, you would know how to go about it. So if it is learning a skill, you need to know that your child can learn a skill and be a success. You need to know that if it is support the child through educational system, find a way as well. But you need to, that child, don't think, because as parents like to push their own dreams on their children. You need to, people to draw themselves out of that space in the first place. My dad wanted me to be a physiotherapist, and now I'm a psychologist. So you need to stop the things that you were not able to achieve as a child. Does not mean you will now put it on your children. Even despite the fact that you're the mother or the father to that child is different. Just first understand that your child is not the continuation of you, and let that child live their life and find their path.
Now, wow, those are deep thoughts and deep words you said. Just one final thing. I wish we can bring Rosaline back up, but just one final thing, because time is against us. We have to take some of the comments and questions. If people ask some questions for you. But one final, because I always think of parents, I think of teachers whenever we're having fun, especially with the individuals living with whatever special needs it is. You're a psychologist in the making. You've done quite a lot. Now, what would you advise parents who go? What would people say?
Okay. Now, people always have an opinion. Let's understand, people, even when you're doing the best, people will say something. So I think that, you need to first, you have self-esteem issues as a parent if you are still caring about what people will say. So deal with your self-esteem issues, because if you know yourself, identity goes a long way. If you know who you are, you would know what you can accept. You know the things that identity goes a long way. So if you as a parent are still concerned about what people will say, I don't know, just see a psychologist for that. But don't try to push it on your child. People would always have an opinion. Be doing the best. Doing their best. People to attack advocacy for dyslexia. People always will, like, and people, and it stems out of ignorance. They don't know better, so they attack what they don't understand. And you're not going to now make yourself a collateral damage to people's misunderstanding. They would always talk. So forget people right now. Like, forget people. It is you and your child. Your child is your future. However, whatever you put in that your child is what is going to. You don't want to be running around in your old age because you destroyed the life of your child at the foundation, or because you were not sensitive to certain things. Your child is what is your priority. Like, let your child. Sometimes even people hide in denial because they cannot even show this thing out. I don't get it. That's interesting issues. That's what I feel like. Deal with your identity issues, your internal identity issues. Because if what people will say is still affecting you at this stage in time, when you know that people always have an opinion for things, I don't know. I don't know.
Thank you so much. I like what you said about who are you. Identify who you are first, and every other thing is secondary. And that's who are you as a parent? So thank you so much for that. Rosaline, I'm glad you're back. We wanted you to tell us, Oladoye has answered that question, but I thought because I know at what point, so after your secondary school education, you went to culinary school, right? So,
Yeah.
and you actually mentioned something about, remember, we Africans cannot just say, I'm not going to school anymore. So I was asking her a question about at what point would you advise any parents who realize that the child is struggling, you've done almost everything, you found that out, excuse me, you found the child's interest. At what age, at what point would you advise parents to look into that interest of that child and begin to build on it, considering that we're Africans?
Oh, okay, great. So for me, I just have to also put this across. I didn't go to high school, which is secondary school. So just for you to know, from junior high school, I did not pass to get entrance to go to high school. So I went straight to the culinary school. And then from
Wow.
there, I worked in the industry. And then when I was at the age which we consider here in Ghana, mature students age, I think at the age of 25, then I decided to sit for the mature students entrance exams and was able to get admission to the university. So I don't have a school certificate. But back to the question, at what age do you advise a parent to kind of near the interest of their children? I feel like that's one thing that African parents don't know how to do much. I stand to be corrected, but I think majority of African parents don't know how to do that much. Over here in Ghana, growing up, all that every parent aspire for their children to be. I want my children to be a doctor. I want my children to be, and my child to be a lawyer, an engineer, XYZ. Like they will mention all sort of professions for you, thinking that that's what you have to become. And so even today, because my organization, we do recruitment for companies. And when I'm conducting interviews and stuff, some students who are some graduates who I have interviewed, you could see that the thing they went to study, maybe finance, is not their area of interest. But they went to study it because their parents said you should read finance and end up being a banker or something. So parents don't study their children to really know their interest. I would say that it is this modern parent that are coming, because I have some friends who are at my age who have kids that are probably around age 7, 9, about or 5 that are taking the interest to really study their children and know that, oh, my child loves computer games. And so if my child loves computer games, then what do? I have to encourage it because we have like children of 12-year-old developing computer games and all that and becoming young business students. My child likes football. Let me encourage. I have this cousin of mine. That boy would be a great footballer in future. But what? The parents stopped him. If he go and pick up a ball and go out and play, they will cane him, put him in the room and cane him. Ask him not to play ball because thinking that football is for the lowest people in the society. But look at what football is doing now for people. How much people are earning, the impact, the money people are getting from football playing and making impact in society. I go to schools to do presentations, and because I'm in hospitality and culinary, I find students that are like, oh, I'm very interested in culinary, or I'm interested in hospitality, and but my parents will not allow me to study those courses. I even one of my students who just completed the hospitality program. This is how she wanted to do hospitality because she said this is what the area of interest is. And the parents said, no. You should go and study information management studies. So this girl kept quiet. She studied it, and after that, she said, parents, this is your certificate. Now, can you pay another money for me to go to study hospitality? That is what I want to pursue. One, you have wasted the child's time. 4 years into the university, that is something she never likes. And now she has to put it aside and go and study something she likes. I feel it is an advice we have to send parents that listen, study your children right from the moment they start growing and start to see the things they gravitate towards to. The moment they start picking up interest, start the things they gravitate towards, the things that really get their attention. I have this small girl of my sister's daughter. She's 2.5 years old. She picks a phone and she will hold the phone like this and be doing stuff on it. You can call her for 10 minutes, her name for 10 minutes. She will never raise the eye, look at you, or even turn to see you. And then the parents get angry and start beating her. So one time they came to visit me and I said, hey, lady, this is the time you have to start paying attention to your daughter. If it is what is a matter to you, put a computer in front of her instead of the phone and study what she will do with the computer. Then you will know maybe she's a technologist that is coming up. And I gave this advice. But the child is 2.5 years old. But for 10 minutes with a gadget, you will call this girl, she will never turn. But parents will not study these things and know that, oh, my child likes devices. Maybe my child is going to be an engineer to dismantle devices and put them together. So I will advise parents that start studying your children. Study them right from the beginning as they are picking stuff. Even the same way we study the type of food they like, whatever things they like, study them when it comes to these skills as well.
Wow, thank you so much. We have to do this one more time. There's a lot.
If I want to add it quick, if you're saying that maybe you can't really know their interests, involve them in different spectrum of activities. So you can let them learn math, you can let them learn new language, you can let them learn cooking, buy them a small kitchen, computer, different activity. You can involve them, and with time you can study to know, oh, my child likes to play piano or love the guitar. Then you can start getting those ideas and knowing your child very well.
Thank you so much. I like how Oladoyin said, identify who you are as a parent. Just understand your personality, understand who you are. And then I like the fact that you rounded up by saying, find out your child's strength and then find the balance. Thank you so much. There's so many questions. I think I'll take only two, and please just answer it in one minute each. I think this first question is by Nana K. She says, as a behavior analyst, we are trained to train parents and work in partnership. Sorry, we are trained to train parents and work in partnership with them. Do you think that parents need trainings by schools? Dyslexia is much more common than most people know. It occurs in every one in five children. So yes, I think what would your answer be to that? Yes or no? Should we start training parents in schools so that they can know about dyslexia? What would be your
Yes.
answer? 1 minute. Thank you, thank you. Yeah, somebody says, how do we help kids who their parents are aware of their children but are still in denial? Can somebody quickly take, any of you can take that real quick?
Have a conversation with that parents. I don't know. Parents spend so much time in denial, but you need to, as if you're a teacher and you already got a wing of it, have a conversation. Don't stop talking about it.
Great. Thank you. What I'm going to add, you guys, please do for me is please go to the YouTube channel, go to the Facebook pages, and try to respond to some of the questions that our audience have for you today. Go to the comments section, and please, 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 please help us answer those questions because we are far behind time. We need to move to other things, and we need to let you go. Yes, thank you so much, Oladoin. Thank you also, Rosaline. I would also appreciate if you could please leave your contacts on the comment section so that people can reach you. I'm sure a lot of people have questions. I'm sure some parents have questions, but they're not able to speak out on the platform right now. They might want to reach you. I hope it's okay if you can please share your contacts with them so they can reach out to you and to your organization, whatever way that you can support. Because the whole essence is for us all to find help with special needs. I want to say a very big thank you to you for bearing it open as it is, for all those personal things you've shared with us that we've learned from. And I also want to thank all our audience and everyone that participated in one way or the other. Thank you for staying with us. I know that together we'll make a difference. And in the next few years, I believe it, everything is going to turn around, particularly in this part of the world, regarding individuals with dyslexia. Thank you so much. I want us all to remember that the Special Needs Conference is taking place on the Special Needs Educators Conference. So it's taking place on the 18th, 19th, and 20th of August. And like I said, it's going to be a paid event. So I think early bet is going to be 3,000, and then we have late payment to be 5,000. But it's a power-packed event, and you're going to learn everything about different disabilities and how to help. We have different professionals from different parts of the world who will be speaking to us, and you'll be relating with them to get better knowledge. So please don't forget to join us. Don't forget also to join our to subscribe to our YouTube channel, share, like, invite others to come learn. We are all trying to see how we can put in our little quota in helping individuals with disabilities. So thank you so much. Oladoyin, Rosalie, I want to say a very big thank you to you. You guys are simply the best. We'll do this one more time because I know there's still so much more things we can learn from you and questions that you can help us answer. Thank you everyone for joining in today. I look forward to having you again next week as we talk about a very, very interesting topic. And usually we have our industry focus on the first Sundays of the month. And I'm going to have some super beautiful ladies coming in. I call them my mamas. They're coming in to join us next week. I look forward to having you guys. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, it's going to be an online conference. Bye, everyone. Have a good evening. See you soon.